So you want to try to get work done, but for whatever reason, you keep getting distracted, whether it's like notifications on your phone or you like pop on YouTube and end up watching videos for like a couple hours. And you might be thinking you just need to build up your discipline. And that's probably the solution you have in your mind. But in reality, I found discipline is not what is going to solve your problem at all. Eventually, with these distractions, it's going to chip away at your discipline and you're going to waste your time after a while. So what you need to do, and what I'm going to talk about, is all the ways that I've made it so I can stay focused with as little discipline as possible and actually get my work done. And every single thing I'm going to list out, so I have 5 things, all of them you can start doing right now to prevent you from either procrastinating or getting distracted while you're doing work. And before I get right into it, the way I'm going to talk about this is I'm going to present a situation of how you can potentially get distracted. And these are all ways that I always get distracted, and probably you get distracted as well. And then I'll tell you how I handle it eventually. And with all of these top 5 things, I think you can get rid of all the common ways you can distract it. So the first situation, so imagine you sat down, like you're at your computer, you're at your laptop, or I don't know, if you're in school, you're doing some paper homework or something like that. You're sitting there and you want to do it. Maybe you did a problem, maybe you did 2 problems, but you're starting to get a little bit bored. So you're like, maybe you have your computer next to you, or if you're on your laptop currently, you're just like, oh, open up the YouTube page to see what's around. And you start scrolling through and you're like, oh, like look at this interesting thumbnail, clickbait. Oh, you click it, you bait it in there, and you watch the video like, kind of interesting. And you click another one because like YouTube recommends you stuff, and stuff is kind of clickbaity. You click another one, and like, oh shit, like 2 hours later. Like what did I do? I wasted all my time just watching some like random Mr. Beast video or something like that. So that is the most common situation that I found myself in. And I actually solved this problem relatively recently, but before I completely solved it like I did now, what I used to do is I try not to go on YouTube unless I have a reason, like I have something that I need to search up and I want to like find something interesting, but that might not be like that good. Like sometimes you want to get recommended stuff and you can see like good quality content, right? So what I used to do is like I'll click the little 3 dots under each video, and all like the clickbaity or like any entertainment type stuff that's completely useless, has no value, I would click it and then say like, oh, I'm not interested in this. And eventually YouTube will like curate all the recommended stuff on your homepage, so then you don't get any like clickbaity entertainment stuff and only good value stuff. But then that didn't really work, because eventually like you'll find one that'll just randomly pop up because YouTube is like that, and then you click it and then and it'll start to show you like, oh, all clickbaity stuff, and then it's over, right? Completely distracted. So what I did after that was I just, you know how you can like go on your Google Chrome and you have bookmark tabs. I got rid of the bookmark, and I got rid of like anything that made it easy for me to like, oh, just quickly click on YouTube. I got rid of it, so it's like a pain in the ass if I actually want to do it in that like a little bit of a buffer time to allow me to like, oh, like what the hell am I doing? I need to stay focused on my work. But still, sometimes that still didn't work. So the third thing that I've done recently is actually, I didn't know this before, but I noticed it because on my like this channel right here, I don't have my history on. I have so like history pause, and I have no history at all. So YouTube doesn't know that what I've watched, because there's nothing. Now that I go to the homepage, I'll just like show a picture right now if you're not looking. If you go on the home screen now that I've paused the history and have none, YouTube has a thing where I was like, oh, you have no history, do you want to turn it on? And it just shows a completely blank homepage. And this is actually super helpful, because now when I go on YouTube, even if I'm like randomly distracted and like click YouTube, like because my brain's like seeking dopamine or whatever, I just go there and like, oh, I see a blank screen. No clickbaity stuff to actually clickbait me in there. So then with that, it's super easy. Like, oh, I see nothing interesting, nothing to trigger my brain. And like 99% of the time I don't get distracted, because like, how do you get distracted from a completely blank screen, right? And that allows you to like focus on using YouTube. Either like if you like subscribe to certain people that you like, then you can go to the subscriber tab and just see those specifically, no clickbaity stuff. Or since the homepage is blank, now you can go and search specifically what you're looking for if you want to learn something specific. So those are the 3 things that I've done that got rid of the YouTube problem. So now the second situation, and this is for me, but you can imagine it for yourself. So again, like you're sitting at your laptop, you're like typing away. Maybe, I mean, if you're a coder, if you're not a coder, or maybe if you're doing something business like me, and you're just like, you're on Excel and you hit a calculation, maybe you're waiting a few minutes or like I don't know, a couple of seconds for your Excel to load, and or if you're a coder, like waiting for something to compile. If you're a data analyst, like just waiting for something to query or something like that. And then since you're waiting, I guess your brain's like a little bit bored and need that like constant stimulation. So you grab your phone and you start like, oh, looking through while you're waiting, right? And then, you have nothing to do on your phone, no actually reason to be on your phone. So what do? You immediately go and click like your social media, like Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok or something like that. I don't have any of those, and I've never had any of those, so that's not what I do. But I went on like Facebook and I went to Facebook Marketplace and I just started scrolling, and I think this is pretty common because I've seen people do it like when I was riding the train station and on a train. So I would just go on like Facebook Marketplace. I don't even need to buy anything, but I just like looking through like, oh, what's on there, and like, oh, what am I doing? Wasting my time. So what I recommend you do is two different things, or two things you could potentially do. Like all the social media that you don't need, that you're not like producing on or doing something with like potentially productive. If it's literally like just garbage, then completely delete it. Like if you're not using Instagram for anything, delete that crap. If you're not using TikTok for anything, just delete it. If you're just on any of these apps where you're just scrolling for no reason and never actually produce any content, or even if you're producing content and it's just garbage, then delete it. It's a complete waste of time. It's a distraction. And of course, if you have it deleted, you can't use it and it's not going to distract you. And you won't just like be mindlessly scrolling on your phone. And then the second thing is, if you are producing, like sometimes it's not really an option to just delete this stuff, right? I sort of understand that. And that's the reason why I still have Facebook. Because sometimes I actually do want to buy something on Facebook Marketplace, or sometimes I use Messenger to message people. So what I recommend you do is you take all those things, like say for example, if you actually use TikTok and produce, I don't know, whatever content. I'm not gonna tell you whether your stuff is productive or not. But if you actually use it, but you don't want to like start just constantly consuming and wasting your time on here. What I do, and I think it helps add a layer to give your brain some time to not get distracted, is if you put it in like a little folder, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Like on your phone, you can like group stuff together. So if you put all of them together in a folder, it just like one more second to get your brain some time to think about what you're doing. And also maybe name the folder something like, oh, like productivity or like content or something to like remind yourself. Don't just mindlessly scroll on those things. So that's number 2 of getting rid of your mindless consumption on your phone when you have some downtime when you're working. So on to number 3, and this is more a procrastination something for me. So again, I'm usually working on my computer, and you probably are too. So I'm on my computer and I'm just like, I haven't quite started my work yet. Or maybe I started my work, like I did a little something, but I don't really want to do it. So I pause and I just start Googling random shit. For example, if I want to buy like a water filter, I start like researching like, oh, like you got like a Brita, you got like a Zero water, and all these random things. And you start researching for like hours and hours, but like, oh shit, like what I'm doing, I need to get my work done, right? For example, I have a coffee subscription and a tea subscription that I get some tea or coffee delivered. I'll just start like going there and start browsing, even though I already have a subscription set. I know what I want to buy, I know what I'm gonna get. Like, well, what I'm doing, just wasting time. I need to get my work done, just procrastinating, right? So similar to the YouTube thing, I used to have my bookmarks at the top, like I have the bookmark tab, and that stuff I used to have. I always still had like the coffee, I had like YouTube and whatever, and I removed all of those. Like in this tab right here, I only have productive stuff now. So now it's like a little bit inconvenient to click it, similar to like all the other stuff that I mentioned in the other two situations. Just make it a little bit more inconvenient for stuff that you randomly do. So I get rid of those and just have it as a regular bookmark. So now I actually have to like, I don't know, like Control B, open the bookmark thing, find it, and then click it. Versus like, oh, it's right there. I just click in just for no reason when my brain loses focus for a second. So that'll help with the random distractions and doing like procrastinating, researching random junk. And I also recommend, like, just when you're working, close down your Chrome tab if you don't need it, so you don't just start researching random stuff. So on to the fourth situation, and this is something again, like let's say you're doing work, you're sitting here on your computer typing away, but this time you're actually focused. Like you're really focused on doing in your work, and you're kind of in the zone. You're typing away, getting work done, and it's like, ooh, notification. So you hear it, distract you for a second, and you're like, oh, yo, whatever. And you keep on working because you're actually focused in. But ooh, you hear another one. And eventually, you go and check your phone, like, oh, what the hell is this notification? And you're like, oh, it's like a stupid Uber Eats. Like, hey, you want to eat something now? Like, see, I just got a notification. Or like some random YouTube notification that doesn't really matter. Or like if you have random games on your phone, which I don't, but they obviously send notifications, and they're garbage, not useful at all. And then what happens is you look at your phone, you saw this useless notification, but now that you're on your phone, like your brain triggers like the dopamine cycle to try to like, oh, you always get dopamine in your phone, and you picked it up, so you unlock your phone because it's super easy. You use like your fingerprint or something, instantly unlocks, and even though you know the notifications are useless, you start like, oh, like maybe I'll check social media, or maybe I'll check my email, email, something stupid like that, right? And then eventually that turns into like I don't know, a couple of minutes of scrolling, even if it's only like 10 minutes. You're like, oh, I was just like, you'll notice like, oh, what have I been doing? I just distracted myself away from my work, and I was so focused, but now I'm not really focused anymore, and I wasted some time. So what I did and what I recommend is go in and all the apps that like are still useful. I mean, Uber Eats is useful, right? But you don't want those random notifications because they're always just stupid. Like, oh, maybe you want to eat something right now, or like, oh, get this, like, I don't know, pumpkin spice latte because it's fall. All garbage. So you just go in there, and I recommend you go through your notifications and turn off all the ones that you really don't need. Like maybe leave your email on, or something like that, or leave your text on, of course, because I mean those are probably more important and you want to know those notifications. But other than that, I mean, you don't need them. And then without those notifications, you of course won't get randomly distracted by those. And then the fifth situation. So again, you're doing your work, and maybe you got like, oh, I got my drink. You know, you super focused in, and you stay hydrated or whatever. And maybe you got some snacks nearby too. Like maybe if you get a little bit hungry, and you might think like, oh, if I have some snacks nearby, I'll just like eat it when I get hungry. It helps me actually focus, whatever. I get my work done. But what I found is specifically the snacks, and I know for a fact, like tons and tons of people when I was back in high school, I mean, I don't know about now, but I do. Like back in high school, when people studied, they always like, oh, they have like a shit ton of snacks, and they always just like eating and like little study, and like every couple of minutes they'll like put something in mouth and start eating. What I found is, especially the food, like the drink itself is fine. Like if you drink a little water or tea, I always think that's fine to stay hydrated, and it's not really much of a distraction. But if you have that food in front of you, like it has the smell, and then the food's a little bit more involved. Like you have to go get it. Maybe it gets your hands dirty. You have to put it in your mouth. You have to chew it, and then maybe you have to go and like wash your hands because you don't want to get like, I don't know, Cheeto dust all of your homework or something, or your computer. So what I do now is no snacks. Like I make sure like I put all the snacks out of sight, out of mind, so then I don't get distracted by either like the smells or whatever. And I found that saves a lot of time because all the stuff that I mentioned of what happens when you start eating those snacks. So I wonder, like, and I usually don't eat snacks myself, but all those people who did those supposedly studying, and I know for a fact had like tons and tons of food next to them every single time they studied, they were probably not very productive because they broke their focus every like 10 or 20 minutes to like put food in their mouth and like go wash your hands, go to the bathroom or something. So that's the final situation, getting rid of the food. So putting it all together on YouTube, potentially like mindlessly watching random stuff, you'll get rid of that. It's gonna be a blank screen, so you're not gonna get clickbaited into stuff. You get rid of all your random bookmarks, so then you don't have easy access and give your brain some time to actually think about what you're doing and not get distracted. If you're like, say, sitting there and you randomly see bookmark, you could click it. So get rid of that. And then also on your phone, for things that you're like doom scrolling on and getting distracted by, like I say TikTok, for example, just delete it if you actually don't need it, or put it in a folder if you need it, to just, again, some buffer time for your brain. And also with your phone, again, usually a good source of distraction, even when you're focused, is notifications, because you hear it and eventually you're going to have to look at it. And then if you look at it, you start, again, doom scrolling. So turn off all the notifications that are not important and just leave the good ones, or delete the apps themselves completely if it's not useful. And then again, the food. Get rid of the food. It's generally a distraction, but still stay hydrated. So with all those things, and within every situation, I think now you have all the common situations where you get distracted. At least these are the main ways that I get distracted. And once I've done all these things to get rid of it, I can usually stay focused for like actual hours. Like I'll just sit there and I'm like, oh shit, it's like fucking 5 o'clock. I didn't even eat lunch and I didn't eat dinner yet. Super focused on my work. And again, all these things are quite easy to actually implement. You can try them all right now, and I'm sure it'll help you actually focus and not really need like super discipline to actually do it, because I don't think that's the answer. Just make it effortless, and then you can start to go into your work. So if you thought that was helpful, consider watching this random video that YouTube is recommending you. Or if you really thought it was helpful, I obviously plan on continuously putting out more content based on my experience that is hopefully helpful to get you thinking, giving you some ideas so you can start to improve by yourself.